Call the Thursday, September 14th City Commission meeting to order. First item on the agenda would be approval of the August 24th minutes.
No change.
Stand as written. Next item on the agenda would be citizen comments for non-agenda items. Seeing none. I believe that's none, right? Next item on the agenda, employee promotions and new hires.
I'm actually going to start things off with recognizing two employees. The first one is John Brown, who is now the project manager. John was the assistant public works director, and we had a bit of a reorganization and created the project manager position, Office of Project Management, which John is going to be in charge of. This is right in his wheelhouse, and he's already making everybody happy with his performance. So I will introduce John.
It's yet to be seen.
John, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And the second introduction will be Jesse Rohr. You guys all know Jesse from Planning Inspection Enforcement. Jesse is now the Public Works Director. And this is a very good move for Jesse, and I think he's going to do very well in the position.
Congratulations.
Somebody said something one evening when we were introduced to the new water conservation and said it was a brilliant hire. This was a brilliant move. Congratulations,
Appreciate
Jesse.
it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, the next one is for me to introduce Joe Billinger. Joe was recently promoted to Inspector 2. Joe started with the city July of 2015 as an inspector, and in those 2 years he's been a true asset to the city, and we're looking forward to having Joe on as Inspector 2 in his new role.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. I have two announcements tonight. My first introduction is Clint Barnes. Clint is a maintenance worker one for our maintenance division. Water lines, sewer lines, hydrants, meters. That's not all you do. You do a little bit of everything. But catching on very, very quickly. Actually came on mid-August, so we're pretty excited to have Clint. Clint, in his spare time, runs his own construction company, Barnes Construction. So very
for you.
skilled and does a lot of remodels. So I'm sure he keeps very busy. But we're glad to have Clint on with us. Next to him is Bob Schubert. Bob is no stranger to the city. Late August or late July, we had Bob come over. Bob was a part-time biosolids handler. Not handler, but truck driver for us out at the wastewater treatment plant. Came over, we had a full-time position open up. It was a great move for us because Bob used to be within our department in the maintenance division. So water lines, sewer lines, meters, everything you can think of. His previous experience as equipment operator was with our infrastructure. So bringing somebody back over into the fold in that area is really, really great for us. Was a full-time EMT while he was part-time with us at the wastewater treatment plant. So happy to have him on board as well.
Sounds like you guys are busy. Thank you.
It does.
A little bit.
Thanks for coming.
Congratulations, both
Nice
of
to
you.
meet you both.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Don. Good evening. Don Scheibler, Chief of Police for the Hayes Police Department. Tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our newest police officer, Officer Brandon Bell. Brandon was born in Dallas, Texas. He grew up and went to high school in Edgewood, Texas. While in high school, he was a three-time All-State pitcher in baseball. That's important. I'll come back to that, why that's important. Went to school at North Central Texas College, got an associate degree in science. Also continued to play college baseball, pitched no-hitter there while he was there. He later finished his education at the University of Louisiana in Monroe. Got a bachelor's of general studies with a minor in management.
Yes.
Again, he continued to play college baseball there. Baseball is important because that's his tie to the community. While going to college, he had the opportunity to come to Hayes and play for the Hayes Larks.
Oh, very
He
good.
coached by Coach Frank Leo. But again, during the interview process, Brandon talked about how much he enjoyed that experience, how much he enjoyed the community. But more importantly, during that time, he also met the love of his life, Miss Haley McCain. And they had the opportunity to get to know each other. Haley's from Atwood originally. After completing his college education and living in Texas briefly, moving to Atwood, They've applied here for the Hayes Police Department, and we are very excited to have him on board. I think both him and Haley are going to be a great fit for the Hayes Police Department family. But to be honest with you, I'm just excited about the fact that this young couple wants to come to Hayes and make Hayes their home. So I'm very excited about that.
Absolutely.
Do you guys have any questions for Officer Bell? He'll be happy to take.
I do. You being from Texas, you're not a Cowboys fan, right? You're a baseball player?
I'm a Cowboys fan.
In fact, that was a requirement.
Because my team I root for is playing them this week.
Mr. Mayor, I'm surprised.
But Chief, don't you also have a ball game against the firemen at some point or another?
Absolutely. You may hear.
Ah.
I actually didn't think you were going to the Larks. I actually thought.
Yeah, I thought he was too. That's where I thought
That
he was
makes
going.
sense.
The fire
October
happened.
8th, October 8th, the police department and fire department will have our annual softball game. You may hear complaints from the fire department about us not having a ringer, but we do have a ringer.
They should be very afraid. I'd like to welcome Haley. I'm really glad you came tonight and came along. We understand the commitment of families to the police department as well. Very appreciative that you came and welcome to Hayes. We're very glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome. Ben. Yep.
That's nice.
All right, next item on the agenda would be North Vine Roundabout Concept Update.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am the City Project Manager, John Brown, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about a concept for roundabouts on North Vine Street. For many years, the city has been attempting to find a solution to traffic problems in the North Vine Street corridor. A few concepts have been developed in the past to address some of the issues, but most of them fall short of solving the root of the problem. Digging back into the files from the 1990s, you can find concept plans proposing changes to the configuration of the roads accessing Vine Street. More recently, the comprehensive plan update in 2012 provided some high-level concept sketches of how the area adjacent to Vine Street, just south of I-70, could be reconfigured. It included realigning 32nd and 33rd Streets. It also had a concept dealing with the area near the old Ambassador Hotel. However, most of those concepts were not feasible to implement. About the same time as the comprehensive plan was being finalized, we conducted a KDOT-funded traffic engineering assistance program, a TEAP study, that looked into that same area of Vine Street. They looked closely at the intersection of 32nd and 33rd Street, and they offered a few options, but none of them really addressed the ultimate problem. The major problem is the close proximity of the frontage roads at 32nd Street intersection. They also found that the vehicles attempting to access Vine Street at 35th Street and 37th Street had a level of service of F, which is the lowest rating, and extremely poor. So again here, the primary source of the problem being the close proximity of the frontage roads to Vine Street at the access points and a lack of stacking. The upper right picture is that's 35th Street, and then the lower right picture is 37th Street. The closing of the Ambassador Hotel and its eventual demolition prompted the city staff to investigate options to improve access to Vine Street in that area. And redevelopment is bound to happen. So for nearly 2 years already, city staff has been working with WSP engineers to conduct a traffic impact study and a concept plan to improve the North Vine Street corridor. WSP Engineers has proposed a concept plan for a roundabout at this location. KDOT has reviewed this plan and given conditional support. The roundabout plan calls for disconnection of the frontage road access on both sides of Vine Street and pushing 41st Street west to allow stacking capacity for vehicles on the west side that are wanting to enter Vine Street. Note that the proposed tie-in there is conceptual only and would be subject to change or variation depending upon a replat or redevelopment of the area, and would change how it could be configured. The important point is that the frontage roads are disconnected and the stacking capacity is increased to the west side of Vine Street. For the rest of this presentation, I'm reorienting the visuals so that north is to the right. That helps the length of the corridor to match the landscape perspective of the TV. This screenshot shows an expansion of the corridor to the north with a sister roundabout at 41st and Mopar at an intersection of I-70 or North Vine Street. You should have paper copies in front of you that show the concept, and this roundabout would provide easier and more intuitive access back to Vine Street and back to I-70 for travelers leaving Home Depot and other developments springing up to the east of Vine. It would also allow for a northbound route for people leaving Mopar eastbound. So, continuation of this corridor south to 32nd and 33rd Street would provide a solution to the problems previously discussed about 32nd and 33rd Street. Here is the concept plan of the full corridor from 32nd Street all the way to 41st Street. I'm going to step you through the changes in configuration with details from the south to the north. Okay. So starting with the intersection of 32nd and 33rd, a double roundabout, affectionately called the Peanut, is being proposed. The existing frontage roads, which currently connect 33rd Street very close to the intersection and cause most of the confusion, congestion, and hazard at this intersection, would be disconnected. To the south, the frontage road would connect directly to Vine. And that would be a right-in, right-out only, and providing direct access to Hayes Chevrolet for southbound travelers. Northbound travelers would have to go around the roundabout to get back in there. To the north, the frontage road would be disconnected from the roundabout, but providing direct access into Whiskey Creek. Access to the Pheasant Run would be provided off of 32nd Street. The area is shaded in green. Just for point of clarification, the areas shaded in green are inaccessible to traffic. The areas in red are mountable truck ramps that allow for larger trucks and trailers to turn and negotiate the roundabout, but regular passenger cars would not be expected to need to or expected to access those. The design also accommodates both pedestrian and bicycle traffic and will make it much safer for pedestrians to cross Vine Street, as traffic through the roundabout will be slower and the crossing distances will be much shorter with pedestrian refuges in the center. Moving on to 35th Street intersection, that would be by Arby's and Freddy's and New Hickox on the east side. These access points would be converted to 3/4 access intersections, whereas vehicles would access the frontage road from both right and left turns off of Vine Street. However, access from the frontage road to Vine Street would be right-out only movements. Okay, this significantly reduces the number of conflict points. And I can never resist including at least one technical slide in every presentation. So this demonstrates that currently, with the current configuration, we have 66 conflict points at this intersection. By eliminating those 2 left turns, we reduce those conflict points to 28. Reducing conflict points, somehow we advanced. Reducing those conflict points obviously makes it safer, less congestion, and and the like. Okay. So moving on to 37th Street, which you talked a little bit more previously, the frontage roads must be disconnected from the intersection for the roundabout to function properly. Not to mention, this is one of the requirements KDOT had based on their review thus far. On the west side, the 24/7 travel plaza as such would have access from the west, and they would not have frontage road access because it's gone. Similarly, Serves would have access off the west because the frontage road access is gone as well. On the east side, Golden Ox would not have frontage road access to the roundabout, and so their access would be off 37th Street. Similarly, the Super 8, which wouldn't be a whole lot different than it is right now, Super 8. Like 32nd and 33rd Street, the design accommodates pedestrian and bicycle traffic and would make possible for pedestrians to cross here, where now it's not feasible at all for pedestrians to cross at this particular location. Sliding north a bit more, you can see the eastbound I-70 ramps right here. And those would be right turn only. And they would be, there would be no left-hand turns. Vehicles exiting I-70 from the west would all make right turns. Those wanting to go south would use the right lane and go through the roundabout. So if you're coming off the interstate here, you would go right. If you're wanting to go south, I'm sorry, that's the on right here. Okay, up here. If you're exiting, you want to go south, you go on down through the roundabout and head south. If you're wanting to go north, you exit, you take your right, you go through the roundabout, and you go north. Okay. And
again, if you're coming off, if you're going westbound and you come off the interstate, your only option is to go north.
your only option is to go south. If I'm sorry, this is the eastbound. This is the eastbound ramps. So your west is up. You're coming eastbound. You're coming from the west.
Coming from Topeka.
You're coming from Topeka would be the next slide.
Okay, great.
That would be here. So if you're coming from Topeka,
Okay.
yeah, you're gonna turn right, go up to 41st, take the roundabout, and head back to Hayes. Head back south. And if you're, if you're going north, obviously you just go on through. Going
With this proposal, all the stoplights by the interstate would be removed or not?
exactly.
Yeah.
There would be a stoplight at 29th still, because that's outside the scope here, and there would still be a stoplight at 43rd Street, because that's outside of the scope to the north, and all the stoplights in between would be removed. Which is basically just the stoplights at 32nd, 33rd,
Right.
and both the ramps.
Is this all or nothing?
Yes, for the most part. It doesn't all have to be done at once, but for it to function optimally, yes.
To clean up the corridor.
And part of that goes to, because of the, the three-quarter intersections down here, sending people right, they have to turn around and come back to go north.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, if you're coming out here, you turn around, trying to direct people in a particular way without giving them a place to turn around. Besides making a left turn on a U-turn on a left turn or going around the block, optimally it should all be done.
Well, if we did do it all at once, it'd be more of a mess than it is now, wouldn't it?
Well, construction is always painful, but in the process, you have to look beyond the temporary and into the end result.
If you didn't do it all at once, it wouldn't be any better. You might improve access to, let's say you did the 37th Street right away. Let's say that redeveloped, you did 37th Street. You could improve access in and out of that, but you're not improving anything else throughout the corridor. And in fact, you're probably making some of the other areas worse because now you're dumping A lot of the Freddy's, RB's, that traffic, you're dumping them south with no place to go, or you're still letting them do that cross traffic, which means it doesn't improve.
It seems to me it will be painful, but it'll be painful one time rather than repeatedly. I think it's a wonderful idea. I have no idea. I mean, I said that originally. I have no idea the cost yet, and of course that's going to be serious. But it makes so much sense in my brain. And I was telling the gentleman earlier before the meeting. Interestingly, I'm getting real tired of hearing that the people in Hayes aren't smart enough to do this, because I promise you, the people in Hayes are smart enough to do this. But secondly, I happened to have dinner tonight with 12 people. Every one of them was over the age of 65. Every single one of them was in favor of this. I was afraid to bring it up because I thought I was going to get bombarded. Every single one of them said it was a great idea, and it was a great idea for Vine Street. I was surprised, but excited.
It would definitely, if we were to do something like this, the locals would get used to it right away. We have a lot of visitors up there, and quite frankly, the locals avoid this place so they know the back ways in. The visitors are the ones having the problems getting in and out.
And they'll love it.
And it would have to be very well signed.
Yep.
But, I mean, it's not impossible to sign. It would just have to be very well signed.
Well, and they're going on everywhere across the state. You're seeing them every time I'm going to a different town and a different exit, I'm seeing a new one. I think people are it's getting easier. People learn to see the signs and get in the right lane when they get inside of them, and get in the right lane to get out of them.
But to Toby's point, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, there's people that get off and say they'll never get off the Hayes exit again because it's so dangerous to get back on. Once you get gas, try and go back north. So this would hopefully make it a little bit more comfortable for people to visit Hayes and
I agree.
enjoyable.
I
I do have a question, John. 24/7, just trying to wrap my head around what you just said. Is there only one entrance in there on 24/7? On serves and the 24/7 there. So you go around the roundabout,
Yes.
and that's right.
Right,
Yes.
so,
There?
Unless they work out an access deal with their neighbor
Okay.
to come in
right.
from the other way.
This configuration does not show the frontage road connecting here. Now, I think that's somewhere where KDOT, we can't allow it to connect directly to the roundabout. If the property owner wants to take the risk of cut-through traffic and have access off the frontage road, I think that's something that we could negotiate or have further discussion about. Like I say, it's just concept plan. There's a lot of tweaks, and I know actually the folks from the Pheasant Run are here tonight, and we had a conversation the other day, and I know there's a few issues with their location too, and we're going to work through those details. There's a lot of minutia here that.
Well, I guess.
And I met with Wayne Kiefer at Hayes Chevrolet earlier in the week too, and we talked about the concept. And I mean, he's generally supported the concept, but there will be a lot of little tactical details to be worked out.
This area behind the 24/7 and that area, when you go back and you look at one of the big things that came out of the comprehensive plan, the 20-year comprehensive plan, was to actually move that service road to the other side of those properties. And it would look just like that little area does right there. The chances of us being able to do that, I think we all decided during that discussion, was probably slim and none. But that is that concept of getting off and coming into those properties from the back side.
Or with the new redevelopment.
Yeah.
Anything.
I do have the video simulation to show, and I've
Oh.
reduced it. You have it on your thumb drives in front of you, and it's about 4.5 minutes long, and I've kind of reduced it down to a shorter version for the meeting tonight. I do want to take an opportunity to point out one thing, just peculiarity about the design, because somebody might ask, why is it teardrop shaped here? That forces people out into the outside lane. So if you're going through around the roundabout and you want to get off, like to the
Right.
to the left there, I guess, that shape forces you into the right spot. So it's designed to be intuitive, and it's designed to take you where you need to go. And so, like I say, staying right if you want to get off, staying left if you want to go around, and then it forces you into the right spot so you can either get off there or continue on through.
Does this eliminate all the windmills they go through?
No, the windmill, the long oversized loads can go right on through. Now, they're gonna take up both lanes, but they take up both lanes now,
Right.
and they're gonna probably get on the truck apron. But they'll go right through there, no problem at all.
We have the,
They've modeled it, so it,
Okay.
and I could be all wet about this thinking, but we have a wonderful bypass. And they could,
can't make the too
Can't
long to
get
make
off
the
the
turn to
interstate.
get off the
oh,
interstate.
I hadn't thought about that.
Nope, it's too
Yeah.
tight.
I hadn't thought about that.
We've also, you'll notice here, and we may have the solution here, because we're adding this mountable right turn for wide loads.
Uh-huh.
So that, I don't know for sure whether that would accommodate a wind turbine blade.
It could get them on, but could
them
they
off.
get off?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, getting around the bypass and stuff, but that's part of the design here is to accommodate those oversized loads getting, because that's where we have problems right now, they can't make that turn. to get-
Has there been any discussion in conjunction with this about extending Skyline north to 41st Street?
Not particularly with this, because it doesn't have a real significant impact on the traffic volumes and the way this corridor would function. But as I mentioned earlier, when you look back at how this area might develop, and if it doesn't work to curve that through there, one option would be to just disconnect 41st Street there, connect it to Skyline. But those are details that would have to be worked out yet as well. But
And that's county road, right? 41st, that's. all.
41st is a county road. Once you get past the bend, it's still city right away
Right, right.
till you get back past the hotel to the north side or the west side of.
And in this
Kmart.
concept, there's nothing that would prevent you from connecting Skyline at a later date if you felt that was necessary, or if a future commission felt that was necessary.
I understand that there's a lot of minutia in this thing. I'm thrilled that we're investigating the concept and looking at it. I don't doubt that we have property owners that have concerns and citizens that have concerns. But the fact that we're opening it up and being really transparent about the way we're looking at this and inviting people to comment and be involved, I think that's a really good thing.
One of my biggest concerns is the two-lane roundabout. When you have one lanes coming in all directions, roundabouts work very well. And when you have 4 lanes and then a 2-lane, they don't work so well. And need to look no further than Emporia. When they redid 50 at the Turnpike, they put in 4-lane roundabouts because 50 is 4-lane through Emporia. And they later came back and now it's a 1-lane roundabout. I mean, it's a really wide roundabout, but now it's just 1 lane because they didn't design it right. And I think that you see that around, when they did the roundabouts at the interchanges in Newton, right where the truck stop is at, they did not get the radius right. And it's really hard for semis to get in and out of there. But if you see subsequent roundabouts that have been done by KDOT, they get the radiuses right. So then later when they did the roundabout at 50 and 77 in Florence, there's all kinds of semi-traffic that goes through there. And they got the radius right. And so now it's not an issue. And I think the same thing, we should learn from Emporia's mistakes. Right. So we need to be I'm not against it, but talking about that tier shape and getting those lanes to line up right and make it intuitive, that's going to be really important.
And it is. It's a learning process, and so I don't know if we'd want to have first roundabout, but they're coming all over the place, and they're getting better, and WSP has quite significant experience in there, and their engineers are pretty sharp, and they're a nationwide company, so they've done roundabouts.
Junction City's another one I'd look at, because the first one they put in, the radius was too small. The second one was perfect, and the third one, they way over-engineered it.
Yeah.
I have 2 concerns. One is 35th Street. I think it's going to be very difficult, just as our 27th and Ash, people don't use that correctly. I don't think that little block or a sign is going to prevent someone from trying to turn left and screwing the whole thing up. And so, I know. People they're not going to follow what we want them to do. They're going to do what they want to do. The second is cost. This is not going to be cheap, and the state doesn't have any money, so as we continue to plan this and spend money on it, what's our thought about how we're going to pay for it?
We haven't gone that far yet as far as identifying all the funding options, but right now, we have no clue what this may cost. So in conjunction with this presentation, we're asking your permission to get back with the engineer to get a firm cost estimate. It's probably going to be a little outside my expended authority, but we'll bring that back to you for consideration. We're going to explore some grant opportunities. KDOT might have a little money to throw at it. If certain types of redevelopment take place along the corridor, you could use some TIF money to help fund it, possibly some CID money depending on the type of, CID or Transportation Development District, depending on the type of development that happens. And there's possible other monies for the greenways and some of the pedestrian infrastructure. You might be able to use some CBB money for that, because again, depending on what redevelops and how, this is about visitors and pedestrians and getting people around the corridor. So there's possibility of using that. So you have to pull from a lot of different
Any
pools.
federal money available since it's a
That's one of the
highway?
things we're looking at, is possibly a Tiger grant. Jacob's going to start doing some work on that. Tiger grants are federal grants for infrastructure, but they're typically pretty high dollar grants. So we're going to just explore the possible use of that. But the 80/20 KDOT money, as you guys well know,
Yeah.
with 41st Street, that was our last project. So just going to them and saying, will you pay for 80%, that's not going to happen.
The only KDOT money that KDOT is still indicating there maybe is like possibility is corridor management. And that's like a 1/3, 2/3 type split. And I think the maximum is like 2 million, but they pretty much sold us to hit 2 million.
We used some of that on Vine Street, right?
We did.
Between
we did.
13th and 27th, or 13th and 27th, right? We used the corridor management, which is why that wasn't funded the way the rest of them were.
I really appreciate that you're sensitive to current business owners and having those conversations and getting input from them, because they're very valuable along that area, and a lot of them have been there a long time, and I'm glad we're being sensitive to that.
I can understand Commissioner Schwaller's concerns, but I've actually seen that configuration in a lot of different cities. And if you got the curb there, people aren't going to drive over the curb. So I think you
I
can
see
do
it
that
every day
right.
at 27th and Ash, so I'm anxiously.
They'll only
waiting.
do it once.
Well, I think more importantly,
Get the curb high enough, they'll only do it once.
more importantly, be how we curb the left turn lanes on Vine itself. Because Commissioner Swaller's right, just that red piece of
That ain't gonna do anything.
of brick is
Even
not
if
going to
it's-
stop somebody
Or
from
even if
going
it's this
left.
high off the ground.
But if there was an impenetrable barrier on Vine Street itself, they
Correct.
know they can't. That would
Yep.
keep them off.
That will
Yeah.
stop it.
That would.
Otherwise,
So,
that's not
so
gonna
a
work.
lot of what you're seeing here, when you have these dedicated turn lanes, you have to get in very early, and then there is, sometimes 1 foot high raised concrete.
Right, and that's
Maybe
what
people out.
this
Green.
this green section here is a you're not going to drive over that unless you've got a military.
They've got a couple
Needs to
nice
come
ones
down
in
the street.
Salina that would be good examples on Broadway.
I think it's a rough, I agree with Commissioner Jacobs. I'm expressing concerns, but overall, this is way better than what we have now. I think that's what we have to remember.
I've got some concerns about truck traffic from, like the truck stop over here. They rely heavily on truck traffic. So is the truck going to be able to get off the westbound lane and go around 180 degrees around the first roundabout and then go back around 180 degrees around the second roundabout easily?
Are they gonna want to?
And that's the other question.
They are designed to accommodate the 53-foot trailer with a sleeper cab. I mean, they're the WB67, I believe. So they can negotiate the roundabout. And I guess if they choose not to, but I'm not sure why they wouldn't. I mean, I guess I'm not a truck driver. I've never driven a semi truck.
They're probably a lot more comfortable making something like that than
Right.
I would, thinking about them making something like that.
I don't
but-
think that's going to scare them.
Yeah, they got a
We have
big
truck
truck.
driver up here.
Yeah, I drove a truck for a few years. That's not going to scare them any.
Okay.
It's a lot worse now, especially if you happen to get in there and you have to go left, because in the truck, you're just blocking traffic to get out. Even making a
That's right.
right-hand turn can
Have
be
the
tough.
McDonald's traffic and all that in there too.
Right. Even making a right-hand turn out of there is tough because of the width of the turn you have to make. You're going to have to wait for both lanes to clear. And certain times of the day, that can be tough. So I don't think it'll hurt that portion any.
Well, John, let's make this happen.
Do you want to see the video simulation? Or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I do.
And while he's doing this, you have jump drives with this stuff on it, including the simulation, and then we also have a button on our website that says roundabouts, and if anybody wants to go on and view that from the public, they can look at the drawings and they can watch the full simulation.
That's very good. Thank you for doing that.
So we'll start out here. We're looking north at 41st Street and Mopar to the left there. This is north of Vine Street, and you can see the vehicles negotiating the roundabout there. Yep.
And I'm going to hope we have that much traffic moving up and down.
I believe this is peak flow traffic.
This is
too.
modeled on current peak flow. This is the busiest time of the day, on the busiest, not necessarily the busiest day of the year, but the busiest time of the day. This is peak hour traffic. So here we're coming to the 37th Street, the Golden Ox truck stop on the left, the old Ambassador on the right. And you can see that functions similarly.
They just disappeared.
Just like they would now.
Okay, we'll zoom down here to 35th Street by Arby's and Freddy's and Hickok's there. You can see people making those 3/4 access turns. And then we zoom on down to south of the Peanut. And you can kind of see once we'll advance here a little bit, get a little bit better perspective as you can see what happens there on the middle roundabout.
And this model was based off of actual traffic counts throughout the corridor. So this is our traffic counts. This isn't just where they just pick numbers to put in here.
We sat out there counting turns for long periods of time. And then we'll kind of finish it up here with an overall view of the entire corridor. So, and like I say, the whole thing is about 4.5, 5 minutes long, and you've got it on. It's also on the website now. So anybody who clicks on www.hazesusa.com, there should be a button on the homepage that will give you access to the concept drawings and to the video simulation. So, like I said, what's the next step? We've already kind of talked about that. So somewhat, the city manager mentioned we're getting the consultant to give us a price to provide a plan for phasing it. How could we build this in phases, and what each phase would cost in that sense? So it give options for funding as such. Both KDOT and the Federal Highway Administration have reviewed this plan, and they give their conditional approval to it. And then WSP will finalize. Now they'll finalize the traffic impact study bound, and you'll get copies of that when that's done shortly here. That'll have all sorts of data that might not be interested, but the DOTs are. So, any other questions that I could answer before I step down?
I think it was a good presentation, John. I just think there's a lot of unanswered questions on cost. I mean, I think the potential could be good for our community, potentially.
Well, I'm sure we'll be back again.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's good stuff.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, 2018 pay plan and job classification.
Good evening, Commissioners. Erin Giebler, Director of Human Resources. City Code requires the adoption of a pay plan and job classification by resolution. The following recommendations costs have been included in the 2018 approved budget. Staff is recommending a 2% COLA and a 2% pay adjustment for 2018. The pay ranges would be adjusted by the COLA amount. This resolution would affect only the non-union employees. The Commission has already approved a similar increase for union-covered employees. The action I'm requesting tonight is for City Commission to adopt the resolution as presented. Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2017-014 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Any comments? I think it's in line with what we plan to do this year. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, 2017 sanitary sewer cleaning and video inspection.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeff Crispin, Director of Water Resources. Tonight, we're going to be presenting to you the 2017 sewer line cleaning and video inspection for this year. In 2013, the Department of Water Resources initiated a multi-year program to clean sewer lines and to video those lines. Bids were solicited with a contract document that had a provision for contract annual renewal during that year. Mayor Specialty Services was awarded the contract in 2013, and Commission extended that contract in 2014 and 2015. In March of 2015, Commission asked our staff to rebid the sewer line contract each year thereafter. In 2016, ProPipe LLC was awarded the contract to perform this service. Tonight, you're being asked to award the 5th year of this program. Proper operation and maintenance of a collection system is required by the city's wastewater discharge permit. Problems caused by a lack of sewer line cleaning include sewer backups, manhole overflows, public exposure to raw sewage, and regulatory fines. The department has existing staff that does emergency call-out for sewer backups, removal, and we also run a regular maintenance route on problem areas that we face here in town. The video that the contractor captures as they clean provide early detection of flaws and will allow for repairs before a catastrophic failure happens. From years 2013 to 2016, cracks, holes, and tree root clogs were seen. The video was processed by our IT department and by our Department of Water Resources and has created work orders for repair and root removal. City crews are currently performing root removal, chemical treatment, and running regular maintenance routes based on those sites that we have had videoed in the past. The intent is to concentrate on the red areas that are shown on the map, southeast area of town, also along south of I-70 along the bypass, and a few different spots within town that we have to go back and make sure that we collect. So that is the area. That general area is around 20 miles that need to be cleaned and inspected with camera. On August 1st, staff opened 6 proposals from the following bidders. We did send it out to 8 companies, and we had 6 responses. Light cleaning bids are as follows. ProPipe LLC was $1.05 a linear foot. They're out of Denver, Colorado. Mayor Specialty Services out of Goddard was 95 cents a linear foot. Utility Maintenance Contractors out of Wichita, Kansas was $1.52 a linear foot. Midlands Contracting out of Kearney, Nebraska, they were at $1.08 a linear foot. Blue Nile Contractors out of Missouri, just past Kansas City, they were $1.97 a linear foot. And we had a very competitive bid come in from Infotrack of Worthing, South Dakota at 50 cents a linear foot. As was asked at the work session, we did do 7 reference checks. They were completed on Infotrack out of South Dakota. All were very favorable. I talked to directors of public works, directors of utility departments in these cities. Work has been completed for those references between Minnesota all the way through Colorado, Nebraska, and in Kansas City, Missouri. The crew for this company is based out of South Dakota. They are ready to proceed. They estimate 45 working days, which would be about 9 weeks. Their intention, and they met all the requirements and exceeded all the requirements of our RFP, is to bring more than 1 truck out here. Last year we had ProPipe clean about the same time of the year. We were in front of commission last year at this same time. They brought 1 crew with 1 truck, and this company intends to bring out 2. Excuse me. The options that I have before you tonight are to accept the proposal from Infotrack for contract sewer cleaning and camera work at 50 cents a linear foot, not to exceed the budget of $150,000, to go out for new bids or to provide alternate direction to staff. Staff recommends accepting the proposal from Infotrack to clean and video sewer lines at 50 cents a linear foot, not to exceed $150,000, to be funded from the repairs and maintenance line of the operating budget. And if you choose to pass this on, that is the action we are requesting this evening. And I will stand for any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I move we authorize the city manager to enter a contract with Infotrack to clean and video sewer lines at 50 cents per linear foot, not to exceed $150,000 and funded for repairs and maintenance line of the operating budget.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Swaller, second by Commissioner Myers. I just hope we get the, I think we've had very good service the last few years, and I just hope for this price that it, I mean, it sounded like you did some reference checking, so I appreciate that.
I feel very confident in the reference checks, yes.
It's a great price we got.
Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That's 5-0. Thank you, Jeff.
I have two quick project updates. One, you may have noticed there's a lot of progress at the Ambassador demolition site. I was up there yesterday and it looks like they're almost done hauling the metal off. The metal's being baled and hauled off, and relatively few loads of rubble still left. I talked to Jesse and he talked to the contractor out there, and they're estimating 2 more weeks. The sign and canopy will be removed, and then it's my understanding once the site is wiped clean, the contractor is going to be removing all the concrete floor and crushing that and hauling it away and prepping the site for redevelopment. So we're very happy with them, very happy with the progress. Also, 8th Street, there was some time lost early in 8th Street because of the rains. Hasn't rained for a while, which is good for them. They're making up time. John Brown said they're doing a pour almost every morning and then spending the rest of the day preparing for the next morning's pour. We're very happy with them. The business owners along there are very happy with them. The street drives well. So we expect them to, they're back on schedule now, which is nice. They made up that lost time from early on. So we're very pleased with that project.
And thank you again for the brickwork on 17th and Ash and Pershing Court. It looks fantastic.
Yes, it does.
Beautiful.
Just like new, 1917 all over again.
Thanks for that update, Toby. Mr. Jacobs?
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
I do. I wasn't going to, but I want to thank the commission for a very open and honest discussion last week, not only about our retail challenges and our sales tax challenges, but also we talked about housing and primary employment and population, and I really appreciated that. I think it was one of the best discussions we've had, and very honest again, candid, and no one was defensive, and that was great. I also appreciated reporting from Kaylee Connor and Becky Kaiser. I think they did a very good job distilling a difficult subject. You know, it wasn't a televised meeting, unfortunately, so they had to take all the things we said and turn that word salad into a meal. I am somewhat surprised, I guess, by the response online, and particularly on Facebook. And you know, sometimes, and I learned this many years ago, sometimes in Kansas we're our own worst enemies. We don't believe we can do anything, and we got the cart before the horse. And I understand that when I ran for city commission and I won, my IQ dropped by 100 points, and I didn't have 100 points to spare. But being reminded of that, I just would ask people to take a deep breath, that we know that there are other challenges present, and we are not minimizing them, but we have an opportunity for 3 retailers to locate here now. They're the retailers that we want, but they need that right key to make it happen. If it works for us, we're going to make it happen.
Yep.
And we don't need to go back and apologize what the county commission did back in 1995. That has nothing to do with this. This is about moving forward, moving this community forward, and solving all of our problems one at a time. Again, I appreciate everyone that contributed to that discussion. Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. Took a drive to Dighton on Wednesday. Has anybody driven to Dighton across Highway 4
Yeah.
lately?
Not lately, but I've been there.
They are the friendliest people. You can't pass a car without having somebody wave at you. It's the most incredible thing.
It's Western Kansas.
It's great. I just love it. It was wonderful. It was a great drive, and I just love the friendliness out here. Nice hour-and-a-half drive to think about our conversations, and having people drive by me that have no idea who I am and still waving at me, it just makes me wonder why you wouldn't want to live in this community, why you wouldn't want to live in Western Kansas. So I find it hard to believe that there's not people out there who want to move to our community, and we have a police officer who has shown that. So that was actually one of the things that I took away tonight, is that we talk about programs or ways to get people to move to our community. Sometimes it's something as simple as a Larks baseball team to get some people to move back to our community and be a part of it. So.
You know, I want to touch Commissioner Sorrell, what you talked. I talked to I was at the grocery store this morning. There was a group of people. One of them served here a few years ago, and he was very, very appreciative of us at least talking about, not putting our head in the sand, not doing anything about it. And he knows it will be very difficult on some of the tasks what we would like to happen, but at least we're trying to get, listening to people. Not, a lot of people think we do nothing. I think most of you guys know we try every day to get new businesses. I mean, I'd love to have a plant that would bring, 1,000 people here, but that's a little difficult to have, but it doesn't mean we're not trying. So it was really nice to hear, the first time in 20 years I've actually worked in Hayes every day, and it's pretty neat the conversations you have with the people in town, and I've really enjoyed it. And it was really nice, like we were just saying, just hearing people saying that they appreciate us talking about it. And I think we just got to keep talking about it and see what happens. So we're adjourned.